following announcement has been paid for by the Mike World Order. Welcome to tonight's episode of the Mike Cook Guys Podcast, Season 5, Episode 2. A nice, quite villainous introduction I might want to add, because why not? Why the hell not? Tonight's episode, as always, sponsored by Iron Mike's Championship Belts. If you're a wrestling fan, boxing fan, or even want a custom belt for your current football team, contact Mike Bryce. He's on Facebook. He's on Instagram. Tell him the Mike Cook Guys Podcast send you, and who knows, you might get a nice deal out of it. Recently, we've had a vendor who ended up purchasing a championship for current Ring of Honor wrestler and Bullet Club member, former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, the villain Marty Scurll. Thus, me playing his theme song in the beginning of this episode as a way of saying, if you're out there listening, thank you. We were the guys that your vendor bought it from. So, tonight's episode, Foundations on Building the Golden Unit. People are wondering, what is this hashtag Golden Unit that he speaks of so much, that he speaks of so fluently? We cannot understand you, Mike Cook. But then again, when have you ever understood me in terms of the thought process of ideas? Someone like me you would call interesting genius. I can come up with acronyms like crazy. And once something just feels right, it pops in my head, I just say it and roll with it. You know, you take the Zoo Squad, for example. Do you know how many acronyms and subgroups are in the Zoo Squad? You got Team BFF, Team 5 and Below, Team Young Zoo, Team Happy Hour, what else? Team Short Arm Siblings, you know? So it's interesting the ideas that I come up with. But anywho, how should I start this with the big shocker? Mike Cook has finally changed, and not in like the change of something huge and miraculous, but the fact that it took everyone almost a year when it only took one person that I've only known for a few months to change it overnight. An interesting story I might want to add, but I'm not going to make it super long, so you could say it's story time with Uncle Mike. So me and a good friend of mine who used to work at the job that we do not want to mention, we ended up going into a Hooters in Manassas, or as some of you would say, Manasshole, Virginia, since you guys like to refer to as my hometown of Woodbridge, Hoodbridge. But yet I've seen more ratchet things in Manassas compared to Woodbridge. To each its own. So we met this server, and until I get her on an episode, because we're supposed to get on an episode this season soon. Don't know when, but I'll refer to her as interesting server. I don't know, because that's the only, I'm trying to be nice compared to what I really want to say. But, you know, she was an interesting person. Some of her outlooks on things were very, very different and out of place. But who else have you heard someone get labeled that as well? Me. And I'm like, okay, she's very beautiful. She's got the most biggest brown eyes I've ever seen. And it was all good until she said, I have a boyfriend. Here's my number one personal rule. And you can say whatever you want. You can judge me. I don't care. I have it where if I show an interest in you and I want to be more than friends and you already have someone, I'm sorry, I can't associate myself with you other than the norm. If you're a server, I'm only going to show up, you know, when you're working just to say, hey. If you work in a clothing store, I'm going to stop by and have a conversation while buying clothes or accessories. If you work in the dry cleaners, I'm just going to drop my stuff off, have a quick convo, and just have you iron my clothes for me, because that's your job. And a lot of people say that's not right. You know, you're an anti-socialist, or you're just being too stubborn and picky. Understandable. So about over a month ago, she got out of a relationship, and it was a pretty rocky one. And, you know, I understood her reasons. You know, I've been in that situation. I was in that situation last year. So I knew what she was going through. Been there, done that, then some. It's crazy how things can happen in terms of, like, the war of the worlds coming together as a union. Go figure, huh? For those who pay attention to my Facebook page. And, you know, I was always interested in hanging out with her, so I was like, well, let's see how things are hanging out with her. Now, the next segment you're about to hear is, it's going to be a little out there, so bear with me and just, you know, bear with me. So I ended up hanging out with her, and it was after she got off work. I showed up, picked her up. We had drinks with her and a couple of friends at Bar Louie. And I might want to add, that place is so funny and ratchet. It feels like I'm at Applebee's back home in Beaufort. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, because you see a lot of ratchet stuff that would happen at Applebee's. So going there, it was fun. Then leaving, we ended up hanging out at my apartment, and we were literally from 3 in the morning all the way till 4:30 that next day, drinking, hanging out, other things, but I'm not going there. But just your typical hanging out. And I noticed what caught me off having these panic attacks, and, you know, she was like going through so much, and, you know, she was telling me her life. But here's the crazy part. Here's the very crazy part. A lot of people do not know my history, my past, and my reason for being up here. If I ever get comfortable with you, eventually you'll know. But other than that, that's none of your business. But this woman, she knew my whole past, all the way from how I broke up with my last ex and how that went down, and how she knew like everything. And I've never told her this. This woman has never even heard of my blog. I know she doesn't listen to the podcast, but it just blew my mind how this woman was so knowledgeable, and I'm just like sitting there like, huh? How did you know that? Like, are you a stalker? Or, you know, it It just blew my mind. But I'll admit this, and I know a lot of people are going to say, Mike, I told you so after listening to this episode. I'll give you that. I'm cool with that. You know, I'd say about 30% of me caught feelings heavy because of the simple fact that I wanted to make sure this woman would never get hurt by anybody again, which ended up causing me to get hurt later on, and not physical or mentally, not mentally or, you know, like how I used to be, but more physical. But we'll get to that later. So, you know, every time she would have these moments, you know, I would tell her, hey, I'm your friend and I'm not going to hurt you. And just by saying that, she would like start calming down and easing off. And then she would either slap or punch the hell out of me. And I'm like, what was that for? I'm the one trying to like get you out of this situation. Like, for some of you that noticed like the scratch on my neck that was going on, and my excuse was that was from shaving. That wasn't from shaving. That wasn't from shaving. No. That's because I got bitch slapped for no reason. Trying to help. So I'm like, what is wrong with this woman? Okay, alright. What can I do to help? Hey, can I take you home? But the one cool thing that happened that night was I am so picky about my balcony. I don't like decorations. I just want to keep it simple. Just leave my chair there, and that's it. And she literally turned my whole patio into like a beach setting. And it was so peaceful. But the irony of that was, as it was going on, she was telling me 3 things are going to happen. Because originally I thought she was going to move in a couple of weeks later. But she said, you're not going to be angry with the world no more like you used to be. There's a difference between everyday anger and the anger you've been having bottled up and holding for the past year. And then she said, 2, everything that happens in the past, you're going to leave it in the past. Because you're going to concentrate on being happy. And then she said, 3, because of what's going to happen and how you're going to change from this, you're going to miss me. I said, I believe number 3. But the other 2, I don't know. So, hung out, drank, played music, you know. We laughed, we cried, you know, went through so much. And, you know, after I dropped her off at work the next day, I drove home. And I'm like driving in the car going, what the hell just happened? You know? And it was just so funny because I'm looking at the sun in the skies like, you know, that morning, I was like, you know how long it's been since I just sat just to watch the sun rise and enjoy it. Never got a chance to do that because when I usually see the sun rising and all that, it's while I'm en route to go to work. And I'm not really paying attention to it because I'm more paying attention to my daily routine and my routine of this and that and this and that. And, you know, telling people I'm never going to break routine for anybody until I met this woman. And she, like, literally crashed my routine. That's not cool in my book. But I let it slide because, well, all right, she's, you know, moving and all that. So it's all good, right? Sure. You know? So, as I got home, I was playing nothing but these random tracks. And one of them was Easily by Bruno Major. And I had it on repeat for no reason. And as I was getting more deeper into the song, I wasn't crying, but I can feel the tears coming down my eyes as I'm laying in the bed. And I'm like, what is going on with my body? The next morning, for like a good 3 hours, I just kept crying and crying and crying. And guess what? I cried. And I have no shame to say that, because real men cry. Okay, everyone gives their definition of what a real man is. Well, a real man in my book cries. They show emotion. If you don't put emotion in what you do, then there's no point of you doing it. That's always been my theory. You can't cook a good meal unless you put passion into it. Otherwise, it's going to feel like a dull meal. Seriously. I can cook the same steak as I'm in a bad mood as I would be in a good mood. But because of that aura that comes with it, nobody will enjoy it. If I have a good aura, people will love it. So, I think once I got everything out, because I was holding on all this anger, like all this hatred, everything. I was letting it all go. Stuff from my past, stuff when I was younger. I mean, past exes, women who led me on, did me wrong, friendships that were broken because of, being lied to and all that. And just my theories that I had of, never doing this and never doing that, and shutting myself out and building this giant wall of emotionless, and that was higher than the Great Wall of China. And it's funny because I remember a week ago, I told the Zoo Squad as like a joke that, because one of them was going to like a heart surgery exhibition or whatever, I told them, I remember one time, and this the funny part is, this was copied from the movie Crank High Voltage. I said the doctors opened me up and there was no heart in there. For the past year, there was no heart. And even the doctor leaned over because he had a cigar in his mouth, and he tossed his ashes in there while the other doctors and nurses are like, have you lost your mind? He said, if there's no heart there, he might as well be an ashtray. That next night, I had that same dream that a heart was being implanted inside. And it just felt like this whole wave had changed. I don't carry that hatred anymore. I don't carry that giant black cloud that used to hang over me. I don't carry that resentment that I have towards people. I've just, if anything, it feels like I've been more and more of a walking risk-taking hazard, because every day I'm living it like it's my last. And every day I'm working like it's my last. And I guess that's kind of a good mindset, but it's also kind of a bad mindset too. Because if something did happen, no one would ever know what legacy that I built. But that's a different story in its own, I suppose. But anywho, there was one night we hung out. And her original plan was she was going to give me a gift of her plant. And unfortunately she didn't, because she was like, she wanted to continue growing them. And I respected that. And she then was like, I'm going to leave you with this. And she took out her belly button charm, which was of a gold dream catcher. So she's like, this is my gift to you, because I ended up writing a note and gave her a small gift that meant a lot to me, because it was my way of saying thank you for changing who I was, in a good way. In a good way. So because of that, I went and sanitized it, obviously. No offense, but, I sanitized it. And I ended up fusing it to where it was able to fit on as a charm. And it's funny because being a wrestling fan, and you're a true wrestling fan if you compare certain life situations to pro wrestling. One of the most interesting tag teams to me in pro wrestling for the past 10 years, in my opinion, has been the Golden Lovers. Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega. I remember watching these two go from rivals to partners in DDT and just ended up, taking over the junior heavyweight tag team scene. And now that they're both heavyweight wrestlers, they ended up returning. And I like how they combined their logo together. Like, there's one logo they did where it was all four logos combined. You had the Omega logo merged with the Golden Star, merged with the Phoenix, merged with the Katayoko no Tenshi, or One-Winged Angel, One-Winged Angel for all of you Gaijins out there. So, as I'm like putting these two charms on my chain, and for some reason, what most people don't know, they locked on for the first few hours, and I couldn't, unhook them. Like, they literally locked on. Nothing got, attached. They just literally locked on. And I don't know if it was from the heat of the charm and not giving enough time to cool off, but the way that it looked, and I like felt the goosebumps on my shoulders and my neck, because the first thing that came out of my mouth as I looked down and looked at this merging logo was Golden Union. Golden Union. When life gives you lemons, you turn them into gold. How chaotic of a catchphrase, isn't it? I don't know. But I guess it makes sense. But eventually I'd want to get a logo of that made. And I put that on a t-shirt as well. Or, it could be a decal, it could be a logo. Someone might be crazy enough to put it on them as a tattoo, because I'm sure not doing it. But it just goes to show what impact was left from that. And recently, matter of fact, earlier today, I saw on, as everyone would like to call it, the social media news, aka Snapchat, something that caught my attention, and it caught me off guard. Like, damn, really, like that? One moment you say this, and then this happens, and then, but at the same time, you're like, okay, so that makes sense to what her statement was the other night. I get it. I understand. Give a dude a warning next time. But at the same time, I figure, well, maybe I wasn't ready to hold to that responsibility yet. Because I hate to say it, things like that is a chore. And I'm not ready for my life to be a chore yet. But I'll tell you one thing for sure. The impact that was left was for the good of it, regardless of the outcomes. That I won't regret. Not at all. Not at all. I will cherish that, and because of that, I will carry this Golden Union around my neck for as long and as much as I can until, it's time for it to go. As if I'm completely tired of it. Hate to say that, but, some things are meant to go. But at the same time, within that short amount of time, it has helped me grow as a person that I never thought would have happened. And it was so crazy because 2 days before the first hangout happened, Double R told me it's gonna happen. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be next week, it might not be next year. But rest assured you, Mike, it's gonna happen. Damn, she was right. Once again, no wonder why I was attracted to her at one point. She evens out the impossible. But you figure someone who's that much of a iconic introvert, yeah, it doesn't. It makes sense though, but it's just crazy how being in denial, it kind of catches you off guard. And because of that, it took what was built in 1 year to crash and break within 12 hours. 12 hours. And now it feels like I'm starting over again, but starting over for the best. And now life's great, but it's not a great to where I had to force myself doing all these extra things and carry all this resentment and hatred and mistreating of women and all that just because I was angry from one person, because of one person did. And I get that. I know I probably made a whole lot of enemies because of that, and I'm sure a lot of people don't agree with my point of views on certain things. Some of it has not changed. Don't get it twisted. I haven't 100% given to everything that people want to see. I'm still your reigning and defending, undefeated, undisputed NWA, as in Never Wedding Alliance World Heavyweight Champion. Still the holder of that. And there's no telling what's going to happen next. It's going to be an interesting road. Now, here's the part where I mentioned where I got hurt physically because of this woman. So this past Friday night, I got called to help, pick up. Well, originally it was I told her, hey, don't waste your money on Uber. If you need a ride at night, just call me. And I'm like that with any person because of my views on DUI. But her and her friend hanging out, she's pissed drunk. Every thirsty dude in Manassas at the bar is trying to get in them pants, as well as hers. So as soon as I showed up, and I shit you not, when I'm saying this, as I'm saying this, I'm walking in the room in the smoker section, and all the men who were like surrounding them two at the table, they spread away as soon as I started walking over to the table. And maybe it's because of that mean, angry look, demeanor I carry, I don't know. But because of that, everyone moved out of the way. They're like, no, we're gonna move this way. And then they started trying to be like nice and friendly and all that. And the whole time I'm looking at them like, sure. And as we were leaving, because something happened that caused, her to walk out for no reason. And I'm like, hey, you grabbed your purse, but you left your phone. I'm calling your name. You're still walking because I guess you're mad at your friend for what she's about to do. And that's go home with a guy. Maybe she needed that to get over the breakup. Sometimes it takes that. Sometimes it takes a one-night stand to help get over it. Not everybody can get over it through reading a book or watching a movie or gaining 50 pounds while binge watching your favorite show on Netflix because you're in your feelings. Some people, it just takes getting a piece of booty. So as she's leaving, I'm like, hey, and I didn't even notice it. Like, literally, my first instinct was grabbing the phone, putting it in my pocket. And I completely forgot her phone was in my pocket the whole time, because as me, her friend, and the guy she was wanting to go home with were leaving, we're trying to look for her. Where is she at? Where is she at? So I'm walking, and I'm like, I need to get back in. I'm walking back in. The bouncer was nice enough, first off. Thank you for letting me back in, while everyone else you weren't letting back in because of the maximum capacity. So I'm walking in. This short little buzz cut dude was like, hey man, your friend's a bitch. And her friend's a bitch. We've been trying to talk to them all night. And I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're a boyfriend or whatever. I don't care. She's a bitch. And I'm like, dude, you need to go away right now. And mind you, this dude was like Lil Sis's height. He was short. And Lil Sis's height is short without her heels. This dude like grabs me by the arm, like, and he, mind you, this guy's pissed drunk. He's like, don't you walk away from me. And I don't know if it was reaction or because of what was all built up already. I like turned with a left back fist and was just like on his hand. But because how quick I did it, not only did he get hit, but my hand hit the whole bar table. And anyone knows that those bar tables are some thick wood carrying bitches. And it hurts. So because of that, for 2 days straight, my hand was swollen. And the swelling is starting to come down. It's not as bad, but it still hurts. So, yeah. After that, I'm walking back outside. Hey, have you seen her? No, we haven't seen her. So we're like calling her and calling her and calling her. And there's like, she's not picking up. She's not picking up. And then I'm like, hey, hold on 1 second. I went in my shorts and pulled out her phone. I was like, I had her phone the whole time. They're like, sweet Jesus, Mike, come on. I was like, I'm sorry, I forgot. My hand is killing me right now. So next thing you know, I'm looking for her. I see the outside patio. There she is, single on that table, and I'm thinking she's having one of her moments. I was like, oh man, I gotta get her. I'm calling her name out like 3 times, and I'm loud, and she still don't hear me. The guy who's sitting beside her, who's like drunk and trying to make a move, I said, hey man, can you tap her shoulder? He tapped her shoulder. She looked over at me. I was like, let's go. And she came outside. So her friend, who was literally down the street, went with the guy, did their thing. The moment she got in my car, had like the worst panic attack I ever seen. And I'm guessing it's because she sucked in all her friends' energy. Some people, I believe, have that gift. Like, I understand that the Green Mile was just a movie, but you do have some people that have that John Coffey-like gift. And that's scary. Because you never know. I wouldn't label it a witch or a fairy or an angel, but I just say it's a gift. So that's my guess. It's a gift. I don't know if it's a great gift, but it's a gift. So I'll just go with that. So, yeah, it's crazy. But played her music, got her cigarettes, got her Gatorade, took her home, and like just like that, she instantly flipped on me. And I'm like, what's wrong with this chick? I'm tired of getting flipped on. This ain't worth it. After that, I went home, and I got pissed. And the only reason I got pissed because I had a flashback. And I shouldn't have. So, because of that, I overreacted. And I shouldn't have. Because part of the things I learned was I needed to get over things. Leave it in the past. So the next day I left it in the past. I said my piece and moved on. But, to this day, if something ever happened, despite all that happened, despite the current situation, and the news that I found out today that, caught me way off guard, stung a little, but trust me, I moved on quickly. If something were to happen right now and she called, and just like any other friend, I'll be there. Because I'm that friend. Because I've also learned in this life, me being a good friend and a good person in general is the only thing good that I can do, because everything else I failed, in my opinion. I failed as a lover. I failed as everything else in my book, and nobody can't tell me any different. But that's just my point of view. After mentioning all this, most people wonder what's the next move. I guess whatever happens, happens. I just move it forward. And that concludes story time with Uncle Mike. So, episode 3 coming out. We will be having the great Ivan Michael, the poet, love maker, and such a great man when it comes to the kitchen cuisines. I watched this guy on Snaps. I've seen his dishes he make while he's playing his music and doing some weird funky ass dance that make no sense to me, but I still nod my head because I'm that guy. I'll support you even though I'll give you a hard time afterwards. We plan on getting him on the show and having him mention about his new book that came out, as well as upcoming projects that he's doing. Also, episode 4 will be with my sponsor, Iron Mike, from Iron Mike Championship Belts. We're going to shoot the shit about wrestling and belts and our love for pro wrestling and things that crack us up. And, you know, as usual, it'll be uncensored, unscripted, and unprepared, but it's still fun. So, and once again, season 5, this is going on from September all the way to December, because in December there will be a big announcement that will rattle the state of the Mike Cook Guys podcast. But you're going to have to wait until December hits for it to happen. So, that being said, thank you listeners for once again supporting me, supporting this dream, and keeping this dream going for the past 5 years. It's a lot of work, and there's moments where I've been on hiatus, but when I come back, you guys are still there. So I appreciate that. And what I'm also going to appreciate telling you guys this, Mike Cook Guys episode 2, season 5 has meeting adjourned. Get your pillows ready, get your blanket out, because I'm only going to say this once. Goodbye and good night.